Okay, so when you start up, if you don't have the Pro Edition, it asks you this question. You want to click on it, it says continue using the Lite Edition, so we're going to do that. It may ask you whether you want to do it in advanced mode or basic mode. I would suggest doing it in advanced mode for now. There's some things that are missing that we kind of need. Okay, so when you create a game, I think if you remember from last time, first thing you need to do when you create a game is to save it so it gets a name. So let's do that first. You can say save as, and then where you want to save it is, if you have an H drive, I would save it there. So you go to computer and click on your H drive. If you don't have an H drive, I would just put it on your desktop for now and give it a name. Now this game is called Evil Clutches. Okay, so that's what I would do is that. And here we'll say save. Now if you have an H drive, it would be better to store it there on the H drive. Again, that's a network resource that only you and I can get into, but nobody else. All right, so we go to resources. We click on the resources menu item. Then we select create sprite. And in this class, we're going to give our sprites a meaningful name. So we'll call this one Dragon. Now the way this game goes, I forgot to mention what it looks like. On the left side of the screen, you have a mother dragon. On the right side, you have a boss demon type thing. And he's stolen the mother dragon's babies. So the goal of this game is to rescue as many of the dragon babies as you can. And so we have to make sprites for each one of those objects. Today we're just going to focus on the dragon sprite and the boss sprite. So we're going to start with the dragon sprite. And now we have to go find that. Now some of us, when we downloaded it, had to do it on our desktop or perhaps in My Documents. My Documents would be here in the library. Yeah, so if you have an S drive, this is where all the sprites are. And we're going to grab the one for the dragon. It's an animated sprite, so you see that the wings are flapping already. So there's a few frames of the wing being down and then a couple more with the wing being up. And it just repeats over and over again. It's kind of like an animated GIF, if you know what those are. So we're going to select that. You'll notice that there's this checkerboard pattern behind the dragon. That's called the transparent color. It doesn't really have a color. Anything behind it, we want it to show through, so we don't see this big black or this big box surround the dragon the whole time we're playing it. We've got a nice name. Everything we leave at the default, so we'll just say OK. So now we have our first sprite. We'll also create the boss sprite today. Now I'm recording this, so if you miss any of this, you can go back to the recording and see it again. So don't get too upset if you miss something, because I'll try to get this published even after we get done talking. So I'm going to create a second sprite this time. And again, you can either right-click on sprites and create it that way, or you can go to resources, say create sprite. Either one works. And we're going to call this sprite the boss sprite. So you have to be really careful on names. GameMaker is case sensitive, so you can't put lowercase and uppercase. They're not the same. You have to be good about using uppercase and lowercase the same way all the way through the game. You also can't have spaces in the name. So if you have a space in the name, you need to get rid of that. So we're going to load the boss sprite now. It's here. He looks evil. Okay. So now we have a boss sprite. But if you remember from a few days ago, you really can't do anything with sprites. In order to do anything, you have to create objects that use those sprites. It's the objects that are able to do stuff. So we're going to create the two objects. We're going to start with the boss object first. So I right-click here and say create object. Or another way you could do it is up here in resources, create object. Either way is fine. Anytime you create an object, the first thing you should do is give it a meaningful name. Don't just leave it object 0. Give a name. And just like on the sprites names, you don't want to include any spaces in the name. The next thing you need to do is to select which sprite you want to use. In this case, we're doing the boss, so we choose that. And you'll notice as soon as we do that, it's got the little boss picture there. It's kind of small, but. So now that we have the boss object, we can actually make it do stuff. One thing we want to do when the boss gets created on the screen is we want to get it moving, either up or down. So we have to create an event, and we say add event, and we say create. This is called the create event. When the boss object gets first created, what do you want it to do? So what do we want it to do? Well, we want it to get it moving. The boss is going to bounce back and forth between the top and the bottom of the screen. So if I drag this on, this move block, you click and drag, and then you drop it in the action window. You can go up or down, and we're going to set the speed to 8. 8 sounds like a good speed. So click the 2 hours up or down. The computer will randomly choose between those two which way to go. That looks good. So let's give this a try. I would, just hit the green button right here. Well, we don't have a room. We can't actually run it. A room is kind of like a level, if you remember. So you can't run a game that doesn't have any levels. So we're going to add a room and put the boss into it. So again, you can go to the resources menu selection and say create room. There it is. So there's our room. Now in this game we don't need the grid, so we're going to just shut that off. And then we can put our boss in the room. So we go down here to the boss menu, or to the menu down here, and we choose our boss. It's the only object we have so far. And we're going to place the boss in the room. So there's our boss. It's going to be on the right side of the room. And again, the behavior we want is we want the boss to bounce up and down. All right, so let's give it a try and see what happens. It takes a little while for it to compile and get ready to go. You notice my boss just kind of flew out of the room. Well, the reason it did that is because we didn't tell the computer what we want to happen when the boss hits the bottom or the top of the room. So he's still going out in space. Who knows where he's gone. I'm going to close this window too. We really want to position our boss to be as close as we can to that back of the room. Now it would also be nice if we had a nice background. This looks a little bit stark. Let's create a background. So we go to the resource menu and we say create background. Backgrounds you don't necessarily need to name because this is the only point where we need to refer to it. So since that's the case, we don't really need to name it. Now the background is here. It should be in the same folder where you got the other sprites. Make sure not to check remove background or otherwise it removes itself. So don't check that box. There's our little cave. That looks pretty creepy. So now that we have the background, we can go to our room. So I'm going back to our room. And there's a tab in the room window called Backgrounds. And we just want to go down here. So choose Backgrounds on the tab. And then go down here and choose the background. Now our monster is in a more evil looking cave. Okay. Now if you have friends who are artists, and you're creating your own game, you can have them create the backgrounds or create the characters, make it kind of fun. Or if you're an artist yourself, you can even do it. I'm not, so I have friends that do it for me. So let's go back to the boss now. And we're going to give it the behavior set such that when it hits the top of the room, it's going to go the other way. If it hits the bottom, it's going to come back up. So we need to add a specialized event to the boss. So make sure the boss is up here. Click Add Event. And this time we don't want to do a create event. We want to do a collision event. No, actually, we want to do an other event. So click on Other. This is kind of their catch-all. But the one we want is intersect boundary. Basically what you're saying is when the boss intersects the boundary of the room, well, what do we want to happen well, we want to change the vertical direction. We just want to switch it. If it's going down, we want it to go up. And if it's up, we want it to go down. Okay? So we're doing that. And that's it. So let's see if we get the behavior we want. So what you'll notice is the monster is spazzing out. And the question is, why is it doing that? Let me put it up on my screen behind me. The idea of why the monster would be doing that. Yeah, it's spazzing out. So the question is, remember the event we put in was intersect boundary. Yeah, it's not because the tiles aren't there. Yeah.
If it's doing that, it's probably too far
to the right, yeah, because it's gone off the back of the room, yeah, and so it's already intersecting the boundary to begin with.
I noticed that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so I put it too close to the back because I'm hanging over the back, and that's why he's doing that. I do that on purpose just to show you what intersect boundary looks like. Okay, so all you got to do then is go back to your room, and you can't really move him once he's on there, but you can right click on it and then makes him goes away. Make sure you're on the Objects tab though. So go to the Objects tab of the room, or Objects tab, yeah, of the room, and then right click instead of left click, and it makes it go away. And then what you can do is left click and hold it down, and then you can drag it around. So we found that this is a little too close. So I'm going to move it out one level. Okay. That way he won't be intersecting the back, and that way he won't be just switching back and forth quickly. So let's try that. And I think we're going to be more successful. And again, the behavior we want is the boss will go up or down. When it hits the boundary, it'll bounce back. And it'll keep doing that over and over in a cycle. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So if we get to this point, that means you've got the monster bouncing back and forth. Again, just to review, on the boss object, we have two events. The create event for the boss, we just get it moving up or down at a speed of 8. Okay? And then we added another event. It's the other event. Click on other, say intersect boundary. So on that event, we dragged on this one over here, reverse vertical direction. Drag that on, and that makes the monster go the other way when it hits the top or the bottom. Find out too. So now we need to turn our direction, our attention to the mother dragon object. So let's do that. We're going to create that object here. So we go into resources, and we say create object. And this time we're going to create the mother dragon. So we're just going to say dragon. Notice how I'm capitalizing the letter of the second word. That's a good idea to do it. In the book they do underscores, but those are hard to find. And again, we give it a name. The next thing we do on an object is to say which sprite it uses. This time we're using the dragon sprite. Now the dragon's a little bit different. The dragon's going to be the object in the game that the user is going to control. So this is the player object. The dragon will have two controls. One, the up arrow is going to make it go up, and the down arrow is going to make it go down. Now these types of events are called keyboard events. So if we got the object dragon, we want to create a keyboard event, we click on the add event button, and this time we're going to use this one down here at the bottom, keyboard. Okay. It's doing the keyboard event. And we're going to do the up one to start with. So what do we want to happen when the player clicks on the up arrow? Well, we want to move up, so we drag we drag on and move fixed. So click on it and drag it into this window. And then we're going to set the speed to 8, just like the boss. Again, so all we did was drag that on, set the arrow to up, and set the speed to 8. So anytime they press that up key, it's going to go up. Let's try this. Here's a keyboard event for the down key. And here too, we can just drag that on and go down. Okay. All right, let's see if we get that behavior. One thing we forgot to do is to put the actual dragon in the room. If you don't put it in the room, you can't really do anything with it. The key here, though, is to go to the room, make sure to click on the Objects tab, and then choose here which object you want to add. In this case, it's the dragon. And then I left-click and drag, and I can put the dragon anywhere I want. I've got her backed up against the wall because she's going to be controlled by the user. So if she hangs over the back a little bit, it's not a problem. So now we have the object in the room. We can then try to play the game. So let me try it. My hope is that when I press the up arrow, it'll go up and down arrow go down. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like mine's working. If you look up on the projector, it's a little bit laggy on your machine. But you can see her moving up and down, but the problem is you can't get her to stop moving. Kind of like Pac-Man mode. You can't stop Pac-Man unless he hits a wall, right? So it'd be really nice if once we're not pressing a key, it would just stop. So let's add that to the dragon. If we go into the dragon object, there's a special kind of keyboard event, and it's kind of weird. You say add event, you say keyboard, and the one you want is no key. That means if there isn't a key being pressed right now. What do we want to happen when there's no key pressed? We just want to stop. So we drag in the move fixed and click on the middle one. Speed 0. Yeah, either one is going to stop it. Both will make sure it stops, I guess. Right? So now let's try it and see if when we let go of the keyboard, the dragon stops. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's working. So I'm pressing the down arrow, I let go, it stops. The up arrow stops. I always find it really cool the first time you get to control like a sprite like this or an object like this. This is actually code you actually wrote. You have control of the dragon. To me, that's really cool. All right, so we're going to take a little pause here, and I'll come around and give people help if they're struggling. And then after that, we'll pick it up where we add a few more objects to the game. We're going to be adding fireballs, babies, demons, things like that.